The skepticism in her dad's voice pulled her attention back to the present. Eric released a laugh so brief it was barely more than a breath. I don't know how likely it is, but it's entirely possible. One broke into my attic through a loose window once and made it through more than one closed door in its search for food. They can turn a knob almost as easily as a human. And her dad's system was purposely wired to respond to even the slightest provocation. He'd chosen the specifications with care. I still want to take a look around. Her dad was clearly unwilling to pin their wake-up call on a woodland creature until he'd exhausted every other possibility, and as a former PI, he had to be part of the investigation. No problem. We'll do the same. Eric didn't sound bothered by her dad's interference. The local police were used to it by now. Corina breathed a sigh of relief as the voices faded and the group moved to the backyard. Despite what her dad thought, she was convinced any other evidence would confirm the raccoon theory. It had all been a false alarm, as it always was. Her dad would be fine. She started to close the door, then realized Houston was still outside. Without a fenced-in front yard, she couldn't leave him out there running loose. Why hadn't he come when she called? Usually he was better behaved, but if there was a raccoon to track, there was no telling how far he'd go before coming home. She muttered under her breath as she opened the hall closet and snatched a dark denim jacket from its hanger. Houston would choose to run off at a time like this. Without taking the time to retrieve socks, she slipped on a pair of boots and stomped outside. And almost into Bryce's muscular arms. Sidestepping to avoid him, she tripped over the garbage can lid. His reflexes saved her balance, but not her pride. Sorry if I scared you, Bryce said as she pulled away. A tight smile pulled at the corner of his mouth, hinting at the familiar dimple in his left cheek. Straightening, she shoved her hands into her jacket pockets and ignored his comment. And the dimple. She wasn't about to explain her reaction. I'm looking for Houston. Have you seen him? The smile disappeared. A few minutes ago, but he was headed this way. Well, he didn't come back inside. She pushed past him, careful this time to avoid the obstacle course on the porch. Unsure which way to go once she reached the street, she paused beneath a tree and cupped her hands around her mouth. Just as quickly, she dropped them. It was still early. If any of the neighbors had managed to get back to sleep after the ruckus they'd caused, she didn't want to wake them now by yelling her dog's name, again. A whistle pierced the air, and she turned a sour look on Bryce. What? Before she could say anything, she heard Houston's bark, immediately followed by the crack of a gunshot and a pained yelp. Houston!